Before we get into anything else, if your heart bleeds Blue Jay Blue, smash that like button right now, hit subscribe, and make sure notifications are on, because what we are covering today is the kind of story that has everything. A long-awaited breakout. A coaching revelation. A bombshell trade report that should have every single Blue Jays fan sitting straight up in their chair. We are talking about the moment Kazuma Okamoto finally looked like the $60 million man we signed, the quiet genius of a hitting coach who might be the most underrated person in this entire organization, and the cold hard reality that the Detroit Tigers are drawing up blueprints to steal Dalton Varsho right out from under us. It is Monday, April 21st, and we have got a lot of ground to cover. Let's get into it. Alright, let us start with the good stuff. The sunshine after a very, very long storm. Because Sunday, April 19th against the Arizona Diamondbacks was not just a win. It was not just a blowout. It was a statement game. It was a collective exhale. It was the Blue Jays stepping on the field and finally, looking like the team that went to Game 7 of the World Series just last year. And the biggest story coming out of that 10-4 demolition of Arizona was the man they call the Big Oak. Kazuma Okamoto. The Japanese slugger who signed a 4-year, $60 million seen a major league fastball in his life. Let us be real with each other for a minute, because this channel does not do sugarcoating. Okamoto came into 2026 with enormous expectations and delivered almost none of them early on. He was slumping to a batting average of .188 at one point. He struck out swinging against Arizona reliever Paul Sewald with 2 outs in the 9th inning on Friday night to end yet another Blue Jays loss. He trudged back to the dugout while his average dipped further and the fan base collectively groaned. The Blue Jays, coming off 6 consecutive series losses at that point, were in desperate need of their big off-season acquisition to wake up. And then on Sunday? He woke up. Loudly. In the very first inning, with the team desperately needing momentum and an emotional jolt, Okamoto stepped in and crushed a 2-run double that helped fuel an 8-run first inning. An 8-run first inning, folks. Before Arizona had time to blink, before their starting pitcher had time to compose himself, before anyone watching had time to finish their first cup of coffee, the Blue Jays had put up a crooked number that essentially decided the entire ballgame before it had even started. And Okamoto was not done. He came back up in the 3rd inning and hit a solo home run. His first back-to-back multi-hit games in the major leagues. 2 hits, 3 RBI, loose aggressive swings on pitches that had previously been getting him out. After the game, through his interpreter, he spoke about simply wanting to keep the train rolling. That right there tells you everything. The weight is starting to lift. The adjustment is starting to click. The Big Oak is starting to take root in the major leagues. Manager John Schneider was visibly excited talking about it after the game. He described how Okamoto was staying on pitches that were working away from him, not bailing out early, not getting caught in between, not hesitating. Just attacking. And Schneider's exact quote about it should give every single Blue Jays fan tremendous optimism. He said Okamoto is getting there, getting pretty close, and that Sunday was a really good day with signs they had been looking for. That is a manager who has seen enough of the struggle to genuinely appreciate the turnaround. And coming from Schneider, who is not exactly known for handing out lavish praise, that carries real weight. But here is where this story gets even better, and where we have to give credit to someone who has been quietly operating in the background this whole time doing some of the most important work in the entire organization. David Popkins. The Toronto Blue Jays hitting coach. This man is the silent hero of this turnaround and he deserves his moment in the spotlight, so let us give it to him right now. Popkins played 3 seasons in the minor leagues and a couple more in independent ball before transitioning into coaching. He was never a top prospect. He was never the guy scouts were circling in their reports. He grinded through the minors the hard way, collected a $1,300 paycheck every 2 weeks, and eventually carved out a career in coaching by doing something most analytics-obsessed hitting coaches forget to do. He connects with his players on a human level. And when a roster full of professionals who are making millions of dollars hits a rough patch, that kind of human connection is worth more than any launch angle adjustment or bat speed metric. Popkins knows what it feels like to fail. He knows what it feels like to stand in a batting cage at AA questioning everything about your swing, your mechanics, your future. He knows what it feels like to work relentlessly and still not produce. And he has used every bit of that personal experience to build genuine empathy for the players going through their own versions of that struggle in 2026. He said it himself in a quote that should be framed and hung in the Blue Jays locker room. He talked about how players have to go through adversity over and over, get through it, go through it again, get through it again. And then he acknowledged the stakes involved, noting that while he went through his own roller coaster for $1,300, these guys are doing it with millions on the line. That empathy, that perspective, that ability to meet a player exactly where they are emotionally, that is coaching at its highest level. That is what separates a good hitting coach from a great one. And what Popkins recognized about Okamoto, what he has clearly been working on in the background, was not purely mechanical. Yes, the swing mechanics matter. Yes, the pitch recognition matters. But the mind was stuck. The weight of being a $60 million signing, the pressure of a fan base that was quietly losing patience, the challenge of adjusting to an entirely new league of pitchers who had spent all off-season studying his tendencies, all of that had Okamoto hesitant, caught in between, not fully committed to his swings. And Popkins went to work on the mental reset, on rebuilding the confidence that made Okamoto a 6-time All-Star in Japan in the first place. And Sunday showed us the early results of that work. If this is the beginning of what the Big Oak truly looks like at the plate, unleashed and attacking, this lineup is about to become a completely different animal. Now let us talk about the other side of that Sunday equation, because while Okamoto was providing the fireworks, Kevin Gausman was out there on the mound being exactly what a 35-year-old veteran on the final year of a 5-year, $110 million contract is supposed to be. Steady, professional, in control. Gausman did not need to be spectacular on Sunday because the offense gave him a 10-run cushion before he had even settled into a rhythm. What he did instead was manage the game intelligently, work his way through 6 innings of 2-run ball, and importantly, lower his ERA on the season to an excellent 2.54. For a pitcher who some worried might be declining toward the back end of his big contract, those are elite numbers. Those are the numbers of a pitcher who has gotten better with age, who understands himself and his craft deeply enough to pitch smart rather than just pitch hard. He did not need to max out at 98 miles per hour Sunday. He did not need to reach into his back pocket for extra. He just won. Cleanly. Efficiently. And that is exactly what a number 2 starter behind Dylan Cease needs to do. Speaking of Dylan Cease, who took the mound Monday night against the Los Angeles Angels and was absolutely brilliant, striking out 12 batters in 5 innings with a 1.74 ERA on the season and 32 strikeouts in just over 20 innings. This rotation, when it is healthy and clicking, is genuinely frightening for the rest of the American League. Cease leads all of Major League Baseball in strikeouts. He closed his outing Monday with a 99-mile-per-hour fastball. He is a Cy Young candidate at this moment of the season. You pair that with a healthy Gausman logging quality start after quality start, and you have a top of the rotation that can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the league. The wins are starting to stack up. The offense had its best inning of the season on Sunday. The rotation is dealing. The pieces are beginning to fall into place. It would almost feel like a perfect moment for the Blue Jays, a moment to sit back and appreciate the progress and look forward with genuine optimism. And then Bleacher Report dropped a bombshell that made every Blue Jays fan reach for a stress ball. Joel Reuter at Bleacher Report, one of the most widely read voices in the national baseball media when it comes to trade speculation, published a major piece breaking down potential trade deadline moves for contending teams. And in that piece, he named the Detroit Tigers as the number 1 landing spot for Dalton Varsho at the trade deadline. Not just a landing spot. The number 1 landing spot. The top of the list. The primary target. And when you read the reasoning as much as it hurts, you understand exactly why a trade like this has legs. Let us start with Varsho himself, because this man is one of the most underappreciated players in all of baseball, and it is time people understood exactly what is at stake here. Dalton Varsho is 29 years old. Over the last 207 games heading into 2026, he was worth 7.6 WAR. That is an elite number. That is all-star level production over a sustained stretch. He averaged 25 home runs per 162 games across his career, launched 20 long balls in just 271 plate appearances last season, and is a legitimate power threat every time he steps in the batter's box. But what truly sets Varsho apart, what makes him one of the most valuable players on this roster, is his defense. He has logged 45 defensive runs saved in center field since joining the Blue Jays in 2023. 45. He was originally drafted as a catcher and reinvented himself as one of the best defensive center fielders in the sport. You cannot manufacture that. You cannot replace that with a call-up. Varsho out in center field is a game-changer every single night, saving extra base hits, making highlight reel catches look routine, and protecting the pitching staff in ways that do not always show up in the box score but absolutely show up in outcomes. So why would a team trading deadline seller even consider moving him? Because Varsho becomes a free agent after the 2026 season. The Blue Jays did not sign him to an extension. And when a team is sitting at 8 wins and 13 losses in late April, when the injury list is overflowing, when the front office is looking at the calendar and doing the math on what the next 3 months need to look like for a playoff run to be realistic, the conversation about whether to sell a rental player or keep riding with him becomes unavoidable. That is the cold reality of the business of baseball. And the Detroit Tigers are absolutely ready to pounce on that reality. Detroit has been playing winning baseball. They have been above .500. They have real championship aspirations in 2026 with the pitching talent they have assembled. And they have a glaring, urgent hole in center field because Parker Meadows was lost for an extended period after suffering an arm injury. Meadows was their future out there. Without him, center field for the Tigers has been a revolving door of inconsistency. And there is Dalton Varsho, arguably the best defensive center fielder in the sport, potentially on the trade market. Of course they are drawing up a plan. Of course they are putting together a package. Any front office in baseball would be doing the same thing. Reuters proposed deal centered around a return package headlined by Hao-Yu Lee, a highly regarded Tigers prospect. And in a separate analysis, the package was further fleshed out with the addition of left-hander Jake Miller and outfielder Jackson Strong. 3 young pieces for 1 established major leaguer. And Lee is no throwaway name. He has been described as a Tier 4 prospect, a versatile utility profile with genuine offensive upside, and he is rated as one of Detroit's top prospects in their system. But when analysts started examining that package honestly and asking whether it was enough, the verdict was clear: it probably is not. Varsho's defensive value is too real, too proven, too irreplaceable to move for a return that is more about hope than certainty. One analysis put it bluntly: unless Detroit adds a better centerpiece, this is a proposal Toronto should pass on immediately. Varsho is too valuable for a return built on prospect volume alone. And here is the point that does not get made enough in trade speculation conversations. The Blue Jays are not a rebuilding team. They are not a franchise tearing things down and collecting prospects for a multi-year reload. This is a team that was in the World Series 7 months ago. This is a team with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in his prime, Dylan Cease under a long-term deal, Kevin Gausman finishing strong, and a loaded roster that is currently battling injuries and a slow start, not a fundamental talent deficit. Moving Dalton Varsho for prospects, when this team has a realistic window right now in 2026, would be exactly the kind of short-sighted decision that turns a rough April into a disappointing decade. The Blue Jays need Varsho. This team needs Varsho. And frankly, Varsho deserves to be on a contender, not shipped off to Detroit while Toronto waves the white flag on a season that has barely begun. But here is the uncomfortable truth that every Blue Jays fan needs to sit with for a moment. The next 30 days are not optional. They are not a grace period. They are an audition. The front office will be watching. The standings will be speaking. If this team goes on a winning streak, gets healthy, and starts to climb back toward .500 and beyond, and there is every reason to believe they can, with Springer returning, Barger on the mend, the rotation solidifying and the offense starting to heat up, then Ross Atkins and company can walk into any trade deadline conversation and say with confidence that this is a buyer's market, not a seller's one. But if April bleeds into a losing May and the losses keep piling up, that conversation becomes much harder to win. The Tigers are patient. They will be watching. And every game the Blue Jays drop from here brings Detroit one step closer to making a real, credible offer for the best defensive center fielder on the market. This is the fork in the road, Blue Jays Nation. This is the moment the season reveals itself. Do you remember last year when this team clawed and grinded and made it all the way to Game 7? That did not happen because everything went smoothly. It happened because this team refused to lay down when things got hard. That is the identity. That is the character. And right now, with Okamoto finally arriving, with Gausman dialed in, with Cease throwing lightning bolts and leading baseball in strikeouts, with the offense beginning to find its rhythm, the foundation for a turnaround is absolutely here. The Big Oak has shown up. The starting pitching is elite at the top. The defense, anchored by Varsho in center, is as good as it gets. The team just needs to string wins together, stay healthy as reinforcements return, and remind the rest of the American League why they played October baseball 12 months ago. The next chapter of the 2026 Toronto Blue Jays season starts right now. And it starts with a choice: keep grinding, keep winning, and make the trade deadline conversation irrelevant. Or stumble and watch Detroit come calling with a moving truck for the best glove in center field. The players know what is at stake. John Schneider knows what is at stake. David Popkins, quietly working behind the scenes to unlock the best version of every hitter in that lineup, knows what is at stake. Now it is time to go out there and prove it, game by game, series by series, starting tonight. Do not let the train stop. Do not let Detroit have Dalton Varsho. And whatever you do, do not sleep on this Blue Jays team. Because the Big Oak just sent a warning shot across the entire league, and the best is absolutely still to come. Alright folks, that is everything for today, and honestly it was a lot to unpack. If you made it all the way to this point, you are a true Blue Jays diehard, and I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. If you got value out of this video, please smash that like button right now. We are closing in on 6,000 subscribers, and every like, every comment, every new subscriber helps this channel grow and keeps the Blue Jays conversation going strong. If you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And drop a comment below. I want to know what you think. Is the Big Oak here to stay? Should the Blue Jays even consider trading Varsho under any circumstances? Is this team about to go on a run? Talk to me in the comments. I read every single one. This is Boys